Hello. A lot has happened recently. My friend ended up passing away, so I had to drive home, and it was a whole thing. Yeah. Also, I filmed this video before on my camcorder, but then so I'm filming it again. Um, I'm going to be combining my October reads and movies because I didn't watch/read that much this month, sadly. So I'm just gonna do it all in one video. So the first thing that I read was The Deep by Nick Cutter. The reason that I read it was because they didn't have The Troop, who's basically Alien but in a submarine. Next we have Near the Bone by Christina Henry. I'm not sure if this was YA, but if it wasn't, it was written like YA. The only book by Christina Henry that I had read before was her Alice book. And while I definitely preferred Near the Bone, basically it's about this girl who gets kidnapped by this weird, not religiously manic man who believes that he's coming from God, and he's justifies his evil with saying oh, God wanted me to have you. So he kidnaps this little girl and he raises her on this mountain, and yes, that's what that's about. Next we have Macbeth. I read it for school, and that discussion. Next I have Fluids by May Leeds. So May Leeds is actually one of my favorite creatives, I guess you could say, online. I watch all her videos, listen to her music, and I bought her book. So I actually quite liked this book. It kind of reminded me of a weird mix of things have gotten worse since we've last spoke, but I liked it more than that. And there's a little bit of Poppy Sebright's Exquisite Corpse. There we go. Just in terms of gore. Check the trigger warnings before you read it if you plan on reading it. It is very graphic. Okay. Next, I read No Exit by Taylor Adams. I loved Darby. I thought she was so fucking cool. And I actually preferred this book to the movie because I did watch the movie last year. Yeah, so I greatly preferred this book. It's basically about a college student who is traveling. I don't remember where she's going, but she's cross-country shit because her mother's in the hospital for cancer. And it's over winter, and she gets stuck because the snow's so bad. She ends up getting stuck at this rest stop, and in the rest stop parking lot, she finds this sketchy van, and there's a kid that's locked in a dog crate in the back of it. So it's kind of like a whodunit thing. She's gotta figure out who at the rest stop she can trust and who she can't. And yeah, I mean, I really liked it. Look at how fucking I wrote it at work. Yeah, 10 out of 10. Really recommend that book. Next I read, so I shit talk Colleen Hoover a lot, but I did pick up Layla by Colleen Hoover because I thought that the plot seemed interesting. And the only book by her that I have been willing to sit through and have actually read was Verity. And both Verity and Layla, I bought Layla. Verity, I bought that book probably last February, something along those lines. It was when I was working at Walmart, and I remember the day that I bought it because I forgot my book at home while I was on my lunch, so I just fucking bought it. And I read it within a day. This book also super quick read. Colleen Hoover, there's one thing that I will say about her. Her reads are super easy. So if you're in a slump, it's pretty easy to get through. I will say, after I ordered this book online, and after it got here and I read it, I realized I saw some Twitter thread about how sketchy Colleen Hoover is. And so from somebody who's only read her horror works, so when she talks about oh, he's creepy, I'm just oh, that's a part of it being a horror novel. There's no but I didn't realize that in her romance novels the men are also creepy and weird and really possessive. I didn't realize this until after I read it. So you know, if you want to read one of her books, I would do some research first because I've heard that there are rape scenes in them. in her romance novels. So, yeah. Next I read I listened to it. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. And the reason I listened to this was because one, it was super short, and two, because the ending is about grief. The last chapter of the book is about being 19 and losing someone who's similar in age and how that feels. And I really needed, like, he loses his 19-year-old friend. And I really needed somebody who understood that, so I read this book. I'm not really, like, a self-help person, like, when it comes to books. I will say I'm currently reading Dan Howell's book, so that's fun. But this book I specifically read because I needed someone else who had gone through similar experiences as me. And I just kind of needed, like, a little bit of advice there. So, while I didn't fucking, like, fix my mental illness or anything, it was comforting to know that other people have also experienced losing a friend at this age, if that makes any sense. Next, we're gonna do movies. So, with being Halloween, I really wanted to watch a ton of movies, but again, I wasn't at home the whole Halloween, or the whole October, so I didn't watch as many as I originally planned to. I started out with All Hallows Eve. I actually hadn't seen this movie. I hadn't seen it, but I had seen Terrifier, which is, like, kind of backwards. I was planning on watching Terrifier 2. I haven't seen it yet, but I saw that it's on Amazon, so I might watch it very soon. Yeah, I watched All Hallows Eve 1 and All Hallows Eve 2. Both of those are on Tubi, by the way. The first one was really good. If you like gore and everything, like, if you like Terrifier, watch All Hallows Eve. All Hallows Eve 2 isn't that good, like, it's kind of garbage, but I didn't watch it because I thought it was good. I watched it, or because I thought it would be good, I watched it because it was free. Next we have The Uninvited. Emily Browning is, like, one of the most beautiful women alive, in my opinion. So when I love Sucker Punch, I'll be completely honest. When I found out that she did a horror movie that was, like, psychological, I was like, oh shit, let me watch this. So I watched it, and it had a really good twist. I watched it on HBO. Next I watched both of the House on Haunted Hill, and then Return to the House on Haunted Hill. The first one was actually really good, really entertaining. The second one was, like, kind of dumb. Garfield's here. I didn't understand why it was, I mean, I get that it was made for money, but the plot didn't make any sense. Yes, and halfway through the movie I realized that I think they're supposed to be based on The Haunting of Hill House, but I'm not 100% sure, because they literally called it Hill House, and I was like, hey buddy. Yeah. So next I rewatched Trick or Treat. I had seen the movie like 2 years ago, but I wanted to rewatch it because I work at Spencer's, and there was so much shit with Sam on it. I was like, I feel like I should rewatch this, and I definitely liked it better the second time around, but I still am kind of anti-anthology movies, which is, okay, so, hold on. We're gonna go back to this in a second. Trick or Treat, there wasn't enough time for me to really care about any character other than Sam. So I didn't really care about it. Like, the plot wasn't interesting enough that I cared about the plot, but also the characters weren't interesting enough that I cared about the characters. So, like, it was fine. It was good. Like, if you've never seen it, you should definitely, I think that everybody should watch it. But I'm not one of those people who's like, oh my god, like, it's a modern cult classic. It compares to John Carpenter's The Thing, because, like, it doesn't. In my personal opinion. Yes. Okay, next I watched Smile, which kind of reminded me of, God, I think it was the Truth or Dare movie with Lucy Hale in it. Although I will say, there is a crazy body horror scene at the end of Smile that I really liked. That was really legit, but Smile was just kind of one of those things where I was just kind of like meh about it. Like, I'm not gonna watch it again, but, like, it wasn't a waste of my time. You know what I mean? Like, it was fine. It's fine. Then I watched Halloween Ends. My opinions of Halloween Ends differ by the day. I personally found it to be entertaining, but I completely and totally understand why a lot of people do not like it. I understand the whole, like, oh, there's no Michael, so I don't like it. I personally thought that what they did was interesting, and the idea that, like, evil has all different forms. Like, I get it. You know, just because you think that you're strong enough to defeat one type of evil doesn't mean that you're automatically strong enough to defeat other types of evil. Like, I get it. I get what they were going for. But a lot of people were mad about Michael. Next, I watched the new Hellraiser, which I fucking love. I thought that everybody that was in that movie did a great job. Odessa Avion, I don't know if that's how you pronounce her name. Jamie Clayton, they all did really good. The one guy from 13 Reasons Why that I'm struggling, Brandon Flynn, I thought he did a good job too. Yeah, I really liked it. I honestly probably liked it more than the original Hellraiser, which, okay, is so interesting because, like, so Hellraiser, in terms of, like, 80s movies, is, like, one of my favorites, specifically because of its use of, like, practical effects. Like, when I think about, like, my favorite, like, practical effects in movies, it's, like, Hellraiser, the original Evil Dead, The Thing, all that stuff. I like it when bodies, like, you know what I mean? Like the body horror, but it's like real, beautiful, amazing. But I love a good, dreary horror movie. Hellraiser is about, she's literally like, she is going through drug addiction withdrawal. And I kind of like, I like an unreliable narrator. Because a bunch of people were like critiquing the movie and they were like, oh, Riley? Oh, Riley's so annoying. She's a junkie. That is like part of the reason what made the movie good. Because such a big part of that movie was nobody around her believing her because of her experiences in life. And never mind, I'm not going to spoil it. Never mind, just go watch it. I was going to say something, but I don't want to spoil it. Next, I watched VHS 99, which, okay, here's like a complete opposite end of the spectrum on Anthology. So with VHS 99, I feel this way about almost all the VHS movies except for VHS Viral. They go really fast and they're pretty exciting. So like, it's kind of like when you put a baby in front of like a sensory simulation video and they just like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. Like, I watched this movie. Actually, I just remembered all the little short films inside of it. This one was fucking brutal. I'd argue that this one was better than 84. I think that was the last one that they made. Maybe 94. I don't remember. Anyways, the one that they made in 2022, I personally liked better than the one that they made last year. There you go. Next, I watched Ouija, and which is kind of funny because I had seen Ouija Origins, and I didn't realize that they were tied together. I thought they were two completely separate Ouija movies. Because there's so many fucking movies about Ouija boards. And I started watching it, and they started saying the names, and I was like, wait a damn minute. So I Googled it, and I was like, are you fucking kidding? Anyways, it was fine. I'm not really that into ghosts. I only watched it because my manager said that it was one of her favorite horror movies when she was in like high school. And I was like, I'll watch it. I think it was on like HBO or something. Next, I watched Child's Play 3 because I had seen 1 and 2, so I watched the third one. Eventually, well, originally, before my friend died, my plan was to watch all the Chucky movies. That was my plan. I was gonna go crazy with Chucky. Did it happen? No, it did not. Third one was fun, though. It was fun. I like the fact that they kept... I literally want to call him Andy, but I don't think that that's his actual name. Oh my god, his name's Andy, too. Huh. Okay, so the boy with the doll, his name is Andy. And I thought that it was cool that they kept him going. Like, they brought him into the... Yeah. Next I watched The Inhabitant. And I watched that completely because it had the same girl from Hellraiser in it. It's basically like a Lizzie Borden kind of knockoff, like ghost movie. It's not very good, I'll be completely honest. It is entertaining though, I'll give you that. It is it's kind of one of those, like, it didn't scare me, but I was just kind of watching it, and I was like, what the fuck am I watching? So yeah, it was interesting and entertaining in that respect, which wasn't what I was going for, but you know what, it worked. Plus, I think she's super hot. I'm sorry. I don't know how to pronounce her name. It's Odessa Avion, something like that. Azion? I don't know. I think she's absolutely gorgeous. Last thing that I watched was The Barbarian from 2022. This movie went on HBO Max, so that's where I watched it. I was so fucking excited for this movie. I think that, this cast is fucking insane. Justin Long. So, like, I've seen Tusk. I've seen Jeepers Creepers. Like, Justin Long is he's just such a goofy man. And, like, the whole theme with, so I'm gonna spoilers here for a second. The whole fact that, like, the monster in the movie isn't even actually a monster. She's just, like, a woman that's been put in a really shitty situation, and all she wants, like, she's kidnapping these people. But it's not like she doesn't want to kill them. She wants to love them. And yeah, so Justin Long is kind of like a weirdo in this, like usual. And I don't want to spoil it. It's a good movie. It's a really good movie. If you're like claustrophobic or like scared of the dark or like anything like that, like it's basically, so this staying in an Airbnb, and then they go down into the basement, and there's like this big passage, and you find out that spoiler, I don't know how much of a spoiler this is. If you plan on watching this movie, maybe don't listen to this. But they end up finding out that the house was like built by a serial killer. So yeah, it's like crazy. It's like fucking labyrinth down there. Anyways, that was all I watched and read in this month. I hope you have a nice day, and goodbye.